This might be the most baffling thing I've ever reviewed, maybe aside from James Ferraro's Human Story 3, but Ferraro's approach to parody and hyperbolic embrace of the worst in late capitalism was already well established at that point. We were at least au fait with his concepts and knew what to expect. On the other hand, this one is a bit of a clean platter for me. That said, I've seen enough irony on the internet to get a sense of what might be ironic and what isn't. Rap, as your artist's name, is just too vague. Even before hitting play, you just get this sense that it won't even be a rap album, more that it's using the label rap as a commodity, as a symbol, a timestamp of where we are in this musical landscape, similar to Dean Blunt's Black Metal in 2014, an album that used many names of genres in its track listing and even its title, with none of the actual music on each track matching up to its title, quite hilariously. Dean Blunt's music is also quite comparable in concept to what rap are doing here, should I say. The title of the album Export makes this mixtape or album seem a lot like a very vague template following product, which actually figures when you hear what the music sounds like. It's also intriguing to note that there's very little information known about this duo at all, maybe about the members' solo careers as visual artists and such, but as a duo and what they represent, I'm drawing a blank. I actually find this a bit refreshing. With how vague each detail of this album is, you really feel this unsettling mystery as you head into it. Even as someone who barely has their hands dipped into the specialty of music production, I can sense which sounds are more familiar to the ear than others. Defaults, presets, sound packs we've heard time and time again, and Ableton and FL projects your friend did for fun over the summer. These are so easy to recognize. The use of them to create hypnotic and completely deadpan techno music gives them a new context for us to consider them in. They sound like musical loops from the past, and because it's 2019 and we're so familiar with these sounds, usually being the starting ground for an artist and not their polished work, this album will either sound so amateur it's rubbish, or so amateur that it's suspicious. And that's really the word that I can describe my reaction with, suspicious. There's something unsettling going on as I hear these musical loops hop and skip onwards. It's a bit like hearing a DJ performing in an empty rave warehouse at midnight. And when I said deadpan earlier, I do mean deadpan.
Black car, black coat, black clothes. Black car, black coat, black clothes.
Considering how the duo deliver their vocals, only in a way that makes the music even more like a cold, calculated statement more than it does a missed target. It made me feel like I was listening to Joe Goddard from Hot Chips demos on a CD at the beginning of an Indietronica themed creepypasta. It's just weird seeing something so self-aware. I'd give the album an uncertain 6 out of 10, but I'm even convinced now that assigning arbitrary numbers to art to determine its worth is an idea that the duo themselves would kind of chuckle at. The problem with Export is that its embrace of a familiar aesthetic is so familiar that it sort of stunts the album's progress at creating anything truly engaging, and yet all those flaws are also its greatest strength, because in doing so it does something else completely. Make my skin crawl. I actually would love to hear more artists bravely embrace a sound palette that is so familiar and minimal in production quality and create something magical with it. I reviewed Sneak's Highway Hypnosis earlier in the year, and its approach to doing that to create its own unique spin on the trap rap trend of today kept me wanting to return to it again and again. I feel as if Export is nearing that standard, and I feel as if there's something appreciable about how plain spoken it is, but it's so plain spoken that nothing ever feels right. It actually makes you think about how far we've come in terms of creating music, that we can begin to embrace square one with heart.